In 1948, it was thought impossible to do a through hike. And in fact, not long before that, in 1939, Myron Avery had sponsored a long-distance hike. He found a chemical engineer who lived in Saltville, Virginia, and he sponsored him on a hike to kind of test this long-distance hiking experience. So that man and a younger boy started at Oglethorpe and managed over a period of a month or so to get to the Virginia border. And Myron Avery had spent days helping them pick equipment, manage the logistics, just to see whether that kind of a hike was feasible. So 9 years later, when Earl Shafer took to the trail, this entire hike of the Appalachian Trail seemed really impossible. You know, Earl didn't have the guidebooks or maps for the AT, and I always thought this was kind of the height of arrogance, that he tried to hike the trail with just an SO, Exxon's predecessor, an SO oil map. And if you look at just an ordinary road map and there's a line on the AT, it does you almost no good in finding the AT. Well, Earl wasn't big on bureaucracy and forms and so forth, and he'd actually ordered the guidebooks from ATC, and he had a post office box in York Springs, and somehow that stuff never got to his post office box, or if it did, it didn't get to him. So he wanted the stuff, he just didn't get it. So back in that time, not long after World War II, the trail had fallen into disuse. It wasn't well maintained and very difficult to follow. A number of years ago, a retired lawyer has launched this big investigation of Earl's through hike, and he proved that Earl didn't hike the Appalachian Trail. And it's true. There were large stretches of the Appalachian Trail that Earl didn't hike. And it wasn't because he was trying to skip blazes or he wanted to cheat or anything like that. He physically couldn't find the trail. There was no trail there. On his trail report that he filed with ATC, he mentioned in parts of southwestern Virginia, he was lucky to find one blaze a day. You know, there were large stretches of the trail he just couldn't find. And he considered it a lucky day when he could find the trail. And now somebody going back said, well, this guy wasn't a white blazer. He didn't follow the white blazes. Well, it's true, he didn't, because they weren't there. And this guy was saying, well, Earl didn't go down this woods road, he went down that woods road. But it was a completely different experience trying to find the trail. And there weren't hordes of hikers, there were no hikers on the trail. I had a friend, Dick Hudson. Some of you may be familiar with the 2-volume Rodell press set of hikers that came out in the mid-70s. There's a chapter by Dick Hudson, and Dick Hudson, who hiked the trail between 1966 and 1970 in 4 long sections, could remember every single person he met on the Appalachian Trail in the course of those 2,000 miles. Anyway, back then, there were so few people on the AT that you could remember every single person that you came across. I mean, now you can't remember every single person you come across in a day on the trail. So Earl hiked in 1948. The next through hiker was 1951. 3 years in between through hikers. And over the first 24 years of through hiking, there was an average of 1.5 through hikers a year. You know, and it wasn't until Ed Garvey's book came out. Ed did the trail in 1970, and then his book came out, I think, in 1972. And 1973 was the first big year for through hikers because of all the publicity around Ed's book. There was an excerpt in Reader's Digest and the Wall Street Journal and other places, so that really spurred an increase in backpacking.